Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new and improved Mr. H on YouTube video. What does this mean? Well, I discovered a easy to record free video editing software, and so this means not only do I have my dulcet tones for you to listen to, but I also have some stock images and such. As I have a little bit extra time now to play around with all these things. And so, per request, this video is going out to Allison, as she has asked that I do a short video on what was the Holy Roman Empire. I could not have been happier to do a topic because not only is it about Germany, but it's about medieval Germany, which is my thing. So let's get right into it. What was the Holy Roman Empire? Well, let's go into a little bit of context. We're talking about from Europe from around 900 to 1000 AD all the way till about 1800s. Okay, so about an 800-year span of European history. That's a lot of time. So it's kind of hard to get through every single detail about the Holy Roman Empire in what's hopefully a not too long a video. But when we talk about the Holy Roman Empire, we're talking about a very large European state that occupied a lot of modern day Europe. And the image shows that it was modern day France and Belgium and Netherlands and Germany and Poland and Austria and Czech Republic and Italy and Switzerland and Croatia and Slovenia, Hungary. And sometimes they even had like Ukraine and Denmark, and all those good stuff. The Holy Roman Empire was founded as a response to the fall of the Western Roman Empire. A guy named Otto the First was the first ever Holy Roman Empire emperor. And what's interesting about the Holy Roman Empire's beginning was that it was an agreement between the German kings and the Catholic Church. The German kings would protect the papal states where the Pope lived, and the church would give these German tribes, German kingdoms, legitimacy amongst the other rulers throughout Europe. One thing that's kind of interesting about the term emperor, this was a big deal that someone would get to be emperor. No one was allowed to be emperor unless you were the Western Roman emperor. You could not call yourself emperor unless you were the Western Roman Empire. By giving this title to Otto the Pope was basically legitimizing him and saying this man represents Rome. So that's where we get the Roman part. The reason it's called holy is that it would be sanctioned by the Pope. It was a Catholic empire that would protect the Pope. Okay, but you should not really get into too many misconceptions because a French philosopher once called the Holy Roman Empire the not holy, not Roman, not empire, Holy Roman Empire, because the Holy Roman Empire was not really an empire. It was more of a confederacy. You had so many different groups fighting for control within the empire. So it's not, let's take like a really nerdy example and say like Star Wars. In Star Wars, the emperor was in charge of all of the galactic empire. You know, you had Darth Vader go around and mess up the rebels for him. Well, in the Holy Roman Empire, you couldn't really do that because the emperor, the Holy Roman Emperor, was only in charge of the lands he controlled. And so this next image shows us that really, when it comes to the Roman Empire, it was vastly divided. You had countless little groups, tiny little city states, huge kingdoms, duchies, bishoprics, principalities, dukedoms, earldoms, all these different areas that were independent. They would basically say, yeah, Holy Roman Emperor, we follow you, but we're going to do our own thing. How does one become the Holy Roman Emperor? Well, you actually had to be elected. Now, don't get confused. This was not democracy. What would happen is that there would be the Electors of the Holy Roman Empire. And these were seven different electors that were around the empire. These were the really important kingdoms of the empire. So it would be, for instance, some of the larger princes, as well as some of the larger lands that like archbishops would hold. Because at this point, the Catholic Church also has land. So basically, some priests were like landowners. And there were seven of them. So seven guys got to choose the Holy Roman Emperor, excuse me. And basically, when it came down to it, the Holy Roman Empire was elected by just seven people. And the way you got elected was that you bribed them. Whoever could bribe the most people got to be the emperor. And so families would spend fortunes on these elections, trying to get their son elected as soon as the emperor died. It would not necessarily be the son of the previous emperor who got to be elected. However, by the middle of the Holy Roman Empire's history, a family would rise to um, come to power and would rule the Holy Roman Empire throughout the rest of its history, and that was the Habsburgs. Habsburgs were a family from Austria. The modern day Czech Republic, as well as they controlled most of Italy and Spain. They were one of the most powerful families in all of Europe. And so they were able to have their sons rule as Holy Roman Emperor for the majority of its history because they were the wealthiest and they were able to pay off people. The Habsburgs were constantly fighting with the other princes and dukes and earls and the Holy Roman Emperor. So, as emperor, they were also, for instance, the Archduke of Austria. And so, Austria would fight with several different groups in the HRE due to the animosity, the desire for the other German princes to be independent or to at least have more say in how they live their lives. Uh, One thing that's very clear about the Habsburgs is that they did not really do a good job. It was impossible to run the empire as one group. There were so many people, so many interests, and different self interests of the different groups in the HRE that for basically after the 30 Years' War, the empire was basically powerless. Now, let's talk just very briefly. What was the 30 Years' War? Well, 30 Years' War was a war that lasted, you guessed it, 30 years. And it took place inside the Holy Roman Empire for the most part. It started off as a conflict between Protestants and Catholics, but it eventually became a gigantic European war for political power. The biggest winners of the war were the French, the Dutch, and the biggest loser of the war was the Habsburg family because basically what happened in the Peace of Westphalia, the treaties that ended the 30 Years' War, the Habsburgs lost direct control of their HRE. They still got to be the Holy Roman Emperor, but the Palatinate, the Saxony, Prussia, all these Protestant kingdoms basically got to ignore and listen to their own princes or dukes. So they really didn't have to worry about them. As history went on, the Habsburgs realized that they could not really control their groups, and they focused more and more on their own holdings, particularly Austria. As time went on and we get closer to the 1700s, the Holy Roman Empire, these tiny little states became smaller, became gobbled up by the other states. So by the time of the Napoleonic Wars in the 1800s, out of the 360 some odd groups in the original empire, There's only a few that are remaining. And so, as we get into the last few years of the Holy Roman Empire, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, becomes very important to the story as he fought his wars against the uh, different European states, such as Austria and Prussia. The Austrians tried to use the Holy Roman Empire to fight him using the Germanic kingdoms. Napoleon defeats the uh, Austrians at the Battle of Austerlitz. And with this defeat in 1806, Napoleon forces the emperor to suspend and destroy the Holy Roman Empire. So the Holy Roman Empire, the 1,000 years of history, is destroyed by Napoleon. So that was just kind of like a brief overview of what the Holy Roman Empire was. What made it unique? Well, there just never was another nation like this, and that's the thing that's kind of interesting about it. You can't really call it a nation. You really can't. Because when it comes to the Holy Roman Empire, it had so many nationalities, it had so many peoples and religions and ideas, but it also had so many different forms of governments that all really kind of worked their own agenda. So it really wasn't a nation, and yet it was. But when it comes down to it, the reason that medieval nations like England and France are around today, and the Holy Roman Empire isn't, is because there really was never any national union that put the Holy Roman Empire together because it wasn't founded to be a nationalist country. It was founded to legitimize the German kings. And so, probably the nation that takes the most national pride from it, from the Holy Roman Empire, is Germany in modern day. So that is a brief overview of the Holy Roman Empire. I'm so glad that we got to talk about this. I'm looking forward to other videos that we have. So, Auf Wiedersehen, everyone, and keep up with all the hard work. Bye.